on the program with. Should be a lot of fun. Jacob Albracht here, Tommy Castor alongside me. We'll get you set up. We've got giveaways today. We'll have two giveaways today. We'll have our HTO giveaway, as always, via text. And then we got a big one this week, Tommy, that we're doing. Kenny Chesney tickets. Kenny Chesney tickets at Arrowhead. So I didn't stutter there. Kenny Chesney tickets at Arrowhead. We're going to give you a chance to win those. Stay tuned for that chance. You'll want to be here for that opportunity. I'll tell you how you can get your hands on some of those tickets as we make our way through the program today. The IHOP hotline is open for you, 869-1240. It's brought to you by IHOP. We appreciate IHOP support, and if you want to call us, you can at 869-1240. Tommy, good morning. How are you?
Man, I'm tired. I heard you mention a moment ago that it was a long weekend and that we're pooped, and I am. Spent 3 of the 4 days of the Wichita Open out at the Wichita Open. Obviously, we did our show there Thursday and Friday, was back out there on Saturday. Long weekend, Father's Day yesterday. You and I went to a concert last night together. It was probably the most active 4-day stretch that I've had in a long time, and I could use a nap today.
I don't know what I could use, like some air conditioning, probably, I guess, for a while, because it was a lot of outside time. None of it involved a pool. It was a lot of sweat, but it was a great week. And look, the Open was wildly successful, I think. And we did have by the way, the Bartlett Arboretum. First time I'd been out there, beautiful. We watched local product, Logan Mize, out there. It's great. What a venue! That was really, really cool. I enjoyed that a lot. But it was a long. I think everybody. Well, we probably just assume everybody's in the same boat as us and went out into the Open a bunch of times, and they may be just like charged up and ready to roll through this week. Where we need just a second to catch our breath. We're like the Royals right now. That's what we are. The Royals in this moment. We had our big stretch of schedule there. That you just don't know if you'll survive it, and you get to the other side and you get a day off, and we need that day off. A lot of good stuff happening, Tommy. The golf out at the Open, we can touch on that. Sam Stevens didn't get it done, which is too bad. It was so close. I thought for sure he was going to get it done going into Sunday, and then bogey 17-18, and just a really tough way to end it. But, it's golf, and that happens. And it happens quite frequently in golf, by the way. And congratulations to Taylor Dixon for putting it together. We talked about it all week. You got to have 4 good rounds to win that tournament. And he had 4 good rounds, and Stevens had 3.5 good rounds. And that was the difference in that tournament. We see it all the time with the Wichita Open. You've got to be able to string it together and score for 4 days to be able to win that thing.
Well, you have a 3-shot lead heading into Sunday, and you know that you're in the final group. You know you're playing your home course. And I heard an interview with him on Saturday night talking about how, there really wasn't a lot of pressure on his shoulders because, he wasn't expecting to be in the tournament anyway. And here he is. And unfortunately, it was kind of a slow start for Sam. I think that he was even through his first 9, or maybe even 1 over through his first 9 holes, was able to, still kind of hang around the lead until the last couple of holes. And I know he had a 1-shot lead going into the iconic 17th par 3, bogeyed that one, which he also bogeyed on Saturday. His only bogey of the entire day on Saturday was on 17, but he bogeyed 17. And then he bogeyed 18, and ultimately that was what cost him, and Taylor Dixon won the tournament.
It's wild to see how parallel that is to the U.S. Open, and just it's parallel in one way that you had that sort of finish where it was a couple of mistake shots there. But what did you make of the U.S. Open? Rory McIlroy now, and we were talking about this as you were kind of giving me a breakdown. We were at that concert last night. I'm like, how long has it been since Rory won a major? What did you say? Like
10
years?
10 years? 2014, the PGA Championship. 10 years ago. That was the closest that I think he's going to come.
In the mix so many times in that stretch. It's not like he went away. He's still one of the best golfers in the world. That's wild. That is wild. But he had this, that putt that he missed. Like that's like a legacy putt for him. That's tough, man, because of all of this stretch. Like that's the one that's going to haunt him forever. Like he needs to just bounce back and win the final major. to just get this right out of his system,
He's
and
not
that's
going to.
that's just wild.
I watched that putt on 18, 2-foot putt, 2.5, whatever it was. Didn't even hit the cup, number one. And number two, you said legacy putt. I don't think Rory wins another major. I mean, I think that kind of slams the door shut, I think, on his chances to win a major. And not because he doesn't have the capability to. Like you mentioned, he's still one of the best golfers in the entire world. But you don't come back from that. That's hard to come back from when you have that chance to essentially, get into the clubhouse and post a number like that. Then it takes DeChambeau to par to have a playoff. And he did. Ultimately, he was able to save par. That was an epic bunker shot that he made from, I think, 55 yards out to then be able to have basically a tap in par putt to win the US Open. But had Rory made his, little bunny putt, we'd be looking at a playoff and that would have been epic. But the fact that Rory couldn't make that happen and get that done, I don't think he's going to be back in the winner's circle, at least from a major perspective, ever again. That's
Yeah, I
really
don't
hard
know.
to come back from because I promise you, whether you're looking at the Masters or any of the four golf majors, if Rory's in a position to win again, he's never going to forget that moment. And I know that you have to kind of shut that stuff out in your mind. That's going to be really hard to do.
Yeah, it's too bad. I was rooting for him. I mean, that was a putt. Like if you and I were playing, you'd give me that putt, right? It was that close. I mean, it
Oh, I
was
don't know if
it
I'd
was
give it to
right.
you. I might make you sweat it. If we're playing for money, I'm probably going to make you put that out.
I don't normally play for money because I'm not very good. So that doesn't make a lot of sense for me to play for money. Unless you're giving me a handicap. You give me a handicap, I might play for money. But we're not playing straight up there. So that happened too. That was just a wild weekend of golf, both on at the Open and at the U.S. Open, the Wichita Open and the U.S. Open. Wild weekend for women's basketball, Tommy. We get Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, and this rivalry's building, but it only seems like there's one interested party in that rivalry, and that's okay. And look, like people are again, it was a hard foul. It was not she didn't try to kill her. Like let's be real here and not overreact. It was a hard foul. They were kind of being rough throughout the game there with Caitlin Clark, and Clark's just going to let her play talk, and it's fine. And Angel Reese, like there are people that get so mad that people don't like Angel Reese, and I'm like, why are you getting mad that people don't like? She's doing everything that she can to make the people that love Caitlin Clark not like her. Like, why? We don't need a pity party. She doesn't need sympathy, even though she's asked for it before. Stop being the villain if you don't want people to treat you like the villain. Everybody loves Caitlin Clark. So when you smash her in a game and you complain after the game that they're getting all the like, what do you think people are going to react? I don't think everybody's trying to make this entire thing more than it is. Like people are overreacting to the foul. People are overreacting, saying somebody's trying to start a race war. I'm like, whoa, everybody chill out. You got a rivalry on a basketball floor and it's compelling as hell. Like, can we just enjoy this rivalry, please? And not overreact to tiny bit, every tiny little thing that happens. Athletes have been jealous of other athletes' fame since the beginning of time. There have been heroes and villains. Sometimes it's manufactured, sometimes it's right in the face. Who cares? Just enjoy that we're all talking about it and doing it. So, again, it's the same old story. And this is the best thing that could happen to the WNBA, Tommy, because I suppose as long as people keep overreacting to it, it's just more spotlight on the league, right? Like it's not. I mean, they're just going to keep soaking this in, and you just got to hope that people stay and stick around. And I think that they probably will. But another round there and an epic rivalry that's going to go on probably forever.
I'm going to give a little bit of sympathy, I think, to Angel Reese in this situation because I feel like if she had come into the WNBA at any other time other than the Caitlin Clark time, I mean, she'd be a superstar. Not that she isn't already,
Mm,
but I think that she would. I mean, because she's kind of followed in Caitlin Clark's shadow throughout college and now in the WNBA. And yeah, I get it.
she's
Like
having a really nice rookie year.
if I were her, I mean, I would kind of be like, man, like what do I have to do, to get some attention around here? And I think she's even said that. Like, look, what do I have to do, to be able to stand out?
I don't buy that for a second. She is like she's a good player, but she is a famous player for the "you can't see me" ring thing to Caitlin Clark. She has coattailed Caitlin Clark's fame since the beginning of her fame. Okay. Did you know who Angel Reese was before that moment in that championship game?
I knew she played. Obviously, I knew that she played for LSU. I mean, I knew that they were going to be, they were
Right.
one of the best teams in America. I don't know if I knew all that. I knew who she was. I don't think I knew all that much about her, though.
The moment she rose to stardom, she was taking a jab at the most popular player in the world. Okay. I don't, she is, and she is now she was already an awesome player, and she's translated that, and she's having a really, I think she's averaging a double double as a rookie. But again, it's okay to just understand what's happening, and you can either embrace it or hate it. It's happening though. Angel Reese would not be a star had she not gone full villain mode to Caitlin Clark in that championship game. Everything started right there in that game. And I knew who Angel Reese was as much as I know any of the great college players are, right? But again, like the problem with the WNBA has had, at least to me, and again, I'm ignorant to it a little bit because I don't follow it now either. I'm just trying to observe everything because I don't have time, right? We're trying to watch and do all these things, but we've all watched college basketball. And then I think the problem for the WNBA over the years is it wasn't translating, right? Like a lot of fans were kind of done at college and not taking that next step into the WNBA. Well, now they have because of Caitlin Clark. And I don't, and they weren't before, and they wouldn't be without Caitlin Clark. The attention to the game is not because of Angel Reese, it's because of Caitlin Clark. And Angel Reese can be bothered by that. I'm totally fine with her being bothered by that because it still creates this, this rivalry that's incredible, that is so compelling and fun to watch and follow, and a hard foul. And, it's going to be it's just staying there. But let's not pretend like any of this would be happening if not for the phenomenon of Caitlin Clark, which is indefinable. I don't think it's because the color of her skin. I don't think it's any of that nonsense that people are trying to spit out there and create. Like, let's just understand that rivalries happen in sports all the time, and when they do, they make it better. They always make it better. I don't know why everybody has loved Caitlin Clark. I have a guess, and it's that her style of play was different than we had seen, just like Steph Curry. She was taking logo threes. She was doing things we hadn't seen. She is as well composed off the court as any athlete I've ever seen. So yeah, parents are going to want their kids to watch her and listen to the things that she says and do all this. And that's all totally fine. But nobody's living in this spotlight like she is, and nobody would be if it wasn't for her. So Angel Reese goes after the game and says, well, I guess some people get a special call. You can't, after we all saw the foul, Angel Reese. Like, you can't complain about the officiating. You clotheslined her. I don't think she did it intentionally. I think she was going for the ball, but it was a hard foul. Like, what are you complaining about? And she keeps complaining. She keeps creating the drama herself, and then she keeps complaining about it.
But I don't. I mean, it's all, I think strategic. I don't see Angel Reese as
I
being
hope it
this.
is.
I think
I
it's
hope
got
it
to
is,
be
because
that,
if it
right?
is,
Like
it's brilliant.
I think that's really what it is. I mean, because think about it. Superman always had Lex Luthor, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Batman always had the Joker or somebody else, right? Like that. Michael Jordan had Isaiah Thomas. Like, these things happen where you always have a counterpart to the star. You always have the antagonist to the protagonist. That's the way that I mean, that's why movies are and TV shows are as popular as they have been for decades, right? Because you always have that counterbalance to the star that's out there. And that's what Angel Reese, I think, is doing. And I think from a marketing perspective, yeah, it's brilliant what she's done. And I do
Brilliant.
think that it's got to be a little bit strategic there. I don't think that this is just hey, I'm gonna be, some people have called her a dirty player, so I'll just go with that word. I'm
She's
gonna
a
be a
hard
dirty
player.
player, and then I'm gonna complain about it afterwards and the raw deal that I'm getting. I don't think that that's really the case. I think it's more of a manufactured
Mm,
thing.
I hope so. Look, this is another good example that if pro wrestling has built $1 billion industry on this literal thing, right? Having your professionals embrace being bad guys. Like, it doesn't, if if there's no Rowdy Roddy Piper to Hulk Hogan in the 80s, like you have to have good guys and bad guys. You just do. You have to. It's as much fun to root against your villain as it is to root for your hero. It just is. We used to go. I've told here, like Terry Funk was very important to our family, very special. He's very good friends with my dad. So when we'd go to the matches, the live shows, and my dad would like boo Funk and root for Ric Flair, we were devastated as kids, but we were way more invested in that match. You know what I mean? Like because that was and he was hyping it up that way. Like like it just made it better. This is all making it better. Now what you have are the Caitlin Clark defenders and apologists who want to wrap her in bubble wrap, which is kind of wacky and silly on one end. And then you have the other people that are, wanting to lock the people that give her a hard foul in a game in jail because they're like, trying to kill her. That's the other polar opposite. And then I think there's a lot of us sort of in between that have just enjoyed all of it, right? We watch sports, we look for the sound bites, and we're getting it. And this is best thing could have happened to the WNBA. So again, here we are. I didn't even mean to do this. We just sort of get into it here off the top of a show again, and it keeps happening, and that's good. And that's again what the WNBA should hope for every single time out. It's why I think Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese should both be on that Olympic team. By the way, could you imagine? It would be the best. It'd be the best thing ever if they had to sit on the bench next to each other. God, what a missed opportunity by the Olympic team. Anyway, that happened. Let's get into the Royals when we come back. Mike points out Dennis Rodman being one of the great villains. Maybe never a basketball player that embraced it and loved it more than Dennis Rodman. He was so good at it. Man, he was good at it. Wow. It makes it better. 869-1240, the IHOP hotline's open. Kenny Chesney tickets coming in a little bit. Right now, let's give away some HTO. All you got to do is text the short code TEA to 20357. 20357 is the number you text, and you use the keyword T. Good luck, everybody. We'll get you some free iced tea and coffee from HTO here in Wichita and Derby. And then we will come back and we'll talk Royals. Don't go away.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy. have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. It's Sports Daily. Don't miss a minute of the action on the diamond with ESPN Bet. The exclusive sports book of ESPN is the only place to find offers and promotions from your favorite ESPN shows and personalities, including daily odds boosts and home run specials all season long. New users can get a bet reset up to $1,000 in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Download ESPN Bet today. What a play. Must be 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In partnership with Hollywood Casino at Kansas Speedway. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details. Tommy, the Royals go through. You won't be able to bet them over at ESPN Bet today because they have the day off. Finally, the Royals get the day off here. 4-6. We talked about it. You wanted 5-5. I said I think I'd be happy with 4-6. I think I feel good about 4-6, all things considered. They're 5 games back after that stretch. I think you could say they survived it, and I think they did survive it, and they're right back. You know, they're well within striking distance here, and I'm okay with it all. And now we can forget about this, 10-day stretch.
It could have been significantly worse for the Royals.
Absolutely.
It could have been not only from their side and losing more games, but the Guardians could have pulled away even larger gap than what they currently have. I think you come out of this, and 4-6, you would have loved to be at 500 or even higher than that. But I think you come away from that looking at a 5-game deficit in the division. I feel like you dodged a big time bullet, and it even goes back further than just the last 10 games. You can even add on the 2 Guardians games before this 10-game stretch with the Mariners, Yankees, and Dodgers even started. And, they're 5-7 in their last 12 games. And even though they're a couple games under 500 in that brutal stretch of baseball, they really didn't fall that much further behind the Guardians than they were when they started this stretch. So I think all things considered, you walk away from it feeling like it was a win overall. I'm not sure that any kind of reasonable expectation would have had the Royals gaining any ground on the Guardians in this stretch, but at least they didn't fall any further behind.
For sure. I suppose the Guardians could have made it worse, but it was all about surviving the stretch to begin with, I think. And when you have those series, I think, Tommy, the key game was the final game of the Yankees series, because that honestly, you get swept there and who knows. But because if you get swept there, then that would have created a situation where you lost 6 or 7 in a row or whatever it would have been. Getting that one sort of felt like it stabilized everything. Then, of course, look, that Dodgers series were close, right? Those weren't those were tight games, kind of go either way. So maybe they feel like they could have had something more than they did, but I don't think so. I think they probably, if you got an honest answer from Piccolo and Cochero and everybody, they'd tell you the same thing. Like, we're probably okay with what just happened, and now we can move on.
Yeah, you go back to the game last Sunday, the Mariners, that extra inning game, they won in the 10th. The Royals were able to tie it up in the bottom of the 9th, and then the Mariners ultimately win that game. You think you could probably have that one. You've got Freddie Freeman's 2-out RBI in the 8th inning that ultimately led to the Dodgers winning by 1 on Friday. Those two games, they end up going a little bit of a different way, and then all of a sudden you're looking at an over 500 stretch in those games, despite losing 3 of 4 to the Yankees. And so I think that, all that matters is the wins and losses ultimately. But if you go back and you peel back the layers a little bit, at least on a couple of those games, man, they were really close to ending that 10-game stretch at over 500. So again, the Guardians could have made it a whole lot worse. I'm willing to be glass half full with this particular stretch of baseball right now. That, it was 4-6. You would have loved to have it be better than that. But I think all things considered, you walk away from it, you sort of take a deep breath, you have a sigh of relief, and you move on to a 3-game set with the Athletics, who are not a great baseball team. You play the Angels, you play the Rangers on the road. The Rangers have talent, but they've kind of underperformed this year. And then you're back at home.
Injuries,
Then you're back at home with the Marlins, and the Marlins aren't very good either at home next week. So it is a little bit of I don't want to say an easier stretch, but a little bit more of a manageable stretch of baseball for the Royals moving forward.
Yeah, way easier stretch. The Rangers, you want to get the Rangers now, right? You don't want to catch them later in the year when they're healthy. They have been decimated by injury. So now's the time. The getting's good with the Rangers now. You'd much rather play them now. That is a series on the road that could get you, though. Max Scherzer, I think, expected to be back, I believe, to make his first start during that series. So, Evaldi, Scherzer, that's going to be a tough series. But when you look at the other 6 games, and we'll maybe spend a little more time with this more specifically tomorrow, but so we had that last stretch of 10 games where I was like, they need to go 4-6, right? They got to get through 4-6. Now you go through the next 9 where it's like, okay, there's 9 games here. I'd like to see 6-3. 5-4 at absolute minimum, but I'd like to see 6-3 here. Let me pull up the Guardians schedule real quick while we're on this, because you're 5 games back, and maybe that's a way to look at it too. The Guardians, so they are off as well today. Yeah, okay. So then here's their next 9 before that big series in Kansas City: Seattle, Toronto, Baltimore. I would say if you're 5 back now, you'd like to at least be within 3. However that comes, Tommy, by the time they come to Kansas City for a 4-game set. That would be the way I would look at that. However that is that it happens, you'd like to be within 3. You'd like to make up 2 games over the next 9. Is that fair? Because then you're really within striking distance when you play them heads up.
And how remarkable would it be if they get to within a couple of games of the Guardians before the next stretch of games against them next week? And it was that same way when they were getting ready to take on the Guardians a couple of weeks ago. They were within striking distance. It didn't end up panning out that way. 1 game was canceled. They played 2. They split. So no ground gained or lost for Kansas City in that 2-game set a couple of weeks ago. But you get them next week again. And if you can get right back into striking distance, the AL Central could be potentially up for the taking. And now we're entering in a scenario where, as you just mentioned, because you went through their schedule, the Guardians have a more difficult schedule in the next 9 games than the Royals do. So you would like to think that they can maybe gain a little bit of ground before that midweek matchup next week.
You good with 6-3? 5-4. Let's say, are you good with 5-4?
I'm definitely good with 5-4. You're 9 games over 500 right now. if you can play this next stretch of games. And that's what I like about the way that this is broken out, the way it has been recently for the Royals, is that the season, at least for the last couple of months, has been broken out in manageable chunks. And I think that's the way that Matt Quatrero has to look at it. Like, okay, we've got, we just finished this 10-game stretch or even 12-game stretch if you add in the Guardians before that. Now we've got a 9-game chunk of games, a lot more manageable before we take on the Guardians again. I think you have to think of it in those terms of chunks. And yeah, I think 1 game over 500 in the next 9 games, that gets you 10 games over 500 when the Guardians come to town. And yeah, I think at that point you feel pretty solid about your chances. And at that point, I don't exactly know the exact dates of when these players should be returning from the IL, but I know Michael Massey is probably a week or 2 away. I don't know exactly when they get Michael Wacha back. I think that might be before maybe the Cleveland series next week. I don't know that for sure, but I think that you're inching closer to getting some of your reinforcements back.
So the other, I guess, good news when you look at it is you're going to get a chance. So after that series with Cleveland, so you get these 9 and then you get Cleveland. Now you're to the end of June. I think we're going to be in the spot where, like, that's a June 30th. You've just finished up a 4-game set. Like, that's a pretty good evaluation spot for them to do. But then if you look further out, like we've talked about how difficult the Royals schedule has been. You get a series with Colorado, with St. Louis, with the White Sox, with Arizona, all before you would essentially, and another one against the White Sox, basically all before you essentially get to a trade deadline. So I think we're in a good place now to just, right, to be aggressive. Don't you? Like, it's a July 30th deadline. By June 30th with Cleveland, like, if you're within a handful of games, like, you got to go. Your schedule's going to soften up in the month. I don't think you can be scared of it. You got to go if you're going to go, and I think they should go. But I don't know. So 5-4. What if I told you they went 5-4 and they lost a game, and now there's 6 games back of the Guardians at 5-4? That's what I mean. I almost don't know that we can look at it that way this time. I think it's all about. It's like
I think
in
you
tandem
can
with what
because
Cleveland's.
I think you can because
It
of
may still-
Cleveland's schedule over the next 9 games. I think you can
Well,
look
but
at
Cleveland
that.
could win a bunch of
They
games,
could.
but
It's more difficult for them.
At some point, it's like, do we look at the Royals versus the Royals, or do we just look at the Royals versus the Guardians? Like, which way do we look at it? Because I do think I would be fine with 5-4. But would I feel like I was fine with 5-4 if they go into the series now and lose a game because Cleveland went 6-3 over their 9 before? I don't think that I would. So maybe it's time to stop worrying about Cleveland. You can deal with Cleveland when you pay them heads up. They may just be good enough that they may be too hard to catch. And I'm not saying that they are. I'm just saying, in theory, in a week and a half, if we're having this conversation. And maybe it is just time to say, okay, let's have a chase to 90 wins for the Royals here. Let's think about it that way instead of what Cleveland does, and just see if we can't get the Royals to 90 wins, which would probably be enough for a wild card spot. Maybe that is the way to look at it, because Cleveland's unpredictable. I just don't know if we should expect the Royals, with Cleveland going the way that they are, to be AL Central winners, or just to reach the postseason. It seems a lot more fair to me to do it that way.
I'm not trying to knock Cleveland because they are talented. They've got a pretty good rotation. They've got a good lineup. They've got some stars on that team. Like, they're a solid team. So I'm not trying to knock them because I do think that they're good. But at the same time, that entire stretch of baseball when the Royals kept winning and the Guardians kept winning and the Royals never seemed to be able to gain any ground on Cleveland, if you go back and you compare their schedules at that time, I mean, the Guardians they weren't playing a lot of top-tier competition. They really haven't. This will be one of the first, and it might actually be the first real long stretch of fairly difficult matchups for the Guardians over the next week. And they've had, 3-game sets or 4-game sets against better opponents early in the season, but I don't know if they've had a 9 or 10-game stretch against a couple of different really good opponents. And, Baltimore is a really good team. Seattle is a really good team. Toronto they've got talent, but they're not there right now, I don't think. But still, this is collectively probably the toughest part of the schedule I would think that Cleveland has had so far. And so if Cleveland comes out of this stretch and they're 5-4 or 6-3 or better than that, then I mean, yeah, like go ahead and like give them their flowers, because it's kind of the same thing we dealt with Kansas City not that long ago. So I do think that I get what you're saying, and I understand the whole thought of the Royals competing against the Royals, but I do think in the back of your head, if you're chasing somebody, you're always keeping an eye out for them too, and what you need to do to then overtake them. I don't think that you ought to just be content with let Cleveland win the AL Central, we'll get a wild card spot, we'll get to 90 wins. I think you try to chase them down and overtake them until you can't do that anymore, until you're too far back where that's not realistic.
I don't know if like the psychology of it is to, like, is it more motivating for the Royals to think we got to run down Cleveland, or does that become too daunting? Or is it more motivating to just say, let's take it chunk by chunk and see? Because what's it going to take? Is it 90? Is it 91, 92? Like, what is the number? Cleveland's going to Cleveland. And look, maybe it's irrelevant, Tommy, because they've played 2 games against Cleveland this year, right? Most of what happens with Cleveland probably ends up happening in those head-to-head games if it swings one way or the other. Either way, the good news, the great news, like, you made it through that stretch. You won't have to do that again. And it wasn't, and you limited the damage, which is what we thought they needed to do. We didn't have some idea of grandeur that they were going to come through and dominate that stretch of games against those teams. And they did fine. So there you go, Royals fans. Day off. We'll have much more on the series upcoming, the stretch upcoming, as they get back into action tomorrow. Welcome in to Sports Daily. If you're just joining us, thank you. If you're listening, we thank you. You can also, don't forget, catch our video stream. It's available on Facebook, on YouTube, on X. You can leave us your comments there. Ken, a great baseball fan, says the Dodgers lineup looks like a World Series team. No question about that, except they lost Mookie Betts. Got plunked on the hand, so he'll be out a while. But yeah, it was a good series. The Royals were right there, man. They were right.
Hey, by the way, how about that MJ Melendez grand slam on Saturday? Holy cow!
We may need to spend a little time on MJ Melendez today, so stay tuned for that. Don't forget, you can text to win some HTO, free iced tea and coffee. Text the keyword T to 20357. We've got a Kenny Chesney giveaway coming up in the second hour. Lots to do here on Sports Daily on this Monday, Recovery Monday. Maybe may need a week here after all the sun and fun at the Wichita Open last week. We'll be back. More right after this.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy. We have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It is Sports Daily here on KFH. Glad to be with you on this Monday. We're recovering on this Monday as we get you set up for the week here. Hopefully, everybody was able to enjoy the weekend. Happy Father's Day, everybody. Belated. Tommy, you and I get to celebrate that day. We're pretty lucky to be able to celebrate that day, quite frankly, but hope all the dads got what they wanted yesterday. There's a lot of different ways to look at Father's Day. What is your Father's Day go-to? Like, do you have a thing that you always get to have? I did yard work yesterday morning. We went to that concert. It was great. But I don't have a go-to. Like, I know some dads grill. I've grilled on Father's Day. I enjoy that. I've done, golf on Father's Day. I enjoy that. But, I don't have like some tradition that I do.
It's usually golf on Father's Day. In the last few years, I've gotten to do that. I did that yesterday. And really it's because my wife is kind of like, hey, like, it's Father's Day. What do you want to do the one time a year that I get to choose that? And typically it's golf. But what I neglected to remember that I was going to be at the Wichita Open like the 3 days or even the 4 days. I played in the Pro-Am on Wednesday. So the 4 days prior, and I was a little golfed out. But I'm like, look, I had the opportunity to do it. I'm going to go and do it. I may not pick up a golf club for, gosh, I don't know, a month maybe. I have no desire to get, I'm sure I will again, but had it not been Father's Day and had my wife not given me permission, I don't think I would have just on my own went out there and played yesterday. I was pretty exhausted.
I'm a little tired of watching other people play golf. I'll tell you that. I'm ready to get out there and swing it a little bit. I enjoy all that, but I'm just like, I need to play now. It just kind of gets you itching for it a little bit. Now, I'm with you on just like the absolute running on fumes, because I think that's the way a lot of people feel. A great party out there. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks to all the people that waved and said hi and came up and
that was so much fun.
The coolest thing to me about doing live stuff like that, whether it's TV or radio or whatever it is is just talking to people, man. Like all the people, everyone's like, oh, I'm sure that bothers you to like say, hey. I'm like, never, like not one time ever in my career has it bothered me that somebody says, hey, and I don't like, and just introduce, like never, like literally never. It's our job. Like we appreciate that you're consuming us. Like we would love to talk to you and tell you thank you to your face. So that to me is always my favorite part about those kinds of things is you just, you get to talk to the people that we're talking to every day that we can't see. Like it's a really cool thing. And the setup was great. The Odyssey crew, Zeb, Tony, like you guys had us hooked up and set up. It was awesome. It was a lot of fun.
If you, by the way,
do it again next year.
If you didn't get a chance to watch the video stream from Thursday or Friday, all of that's always archived on YouTube. I would highly recommend going back and at least consuming a little bit of that. You can find it on the KFH Radio YouTube page because it was top tier. The production quality was pretty incredible on both days.
Yeah, it was. We appreciate it. Zeb, nice job. One more time here as we get ready to go into hour number 2. I do want to spend some time with MJ Melendez, who had the big hit in the game that the Royals won against the Dodgers. We've got a Kenny Chesney giveaway coming up in the second hour. We will get to the NBA Finals that are happening tonight. Maybe some more odds and ends from around the sports world we haven't had time to get to because we were out live having fun at the Open on Thursday and Friday. Some NFL storylines to sort of watch a little bit. This Lakers job is pretty fascinating. But before we do all that, let's wrap up hour number 1 with one more mention of your first contest of the day. The short code is 20357. Keep that thing handy because that's the code we use all the time. This time it's text the keyword TEA for your chance to win some HTO iced tea and free reign coffee. Good luck, everybody. You can cash that in at either Wichita location, East or West, or in Derby. We will come back. We'll have your Kenny Chesney contest on the other side in hour number 2. And we will get into more things in the sports world. MJ Melendez, maybe they ought to keep him around. Mr. Clutch this year. We'll be back.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy. have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free.
Sure.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. Sports Daily here on KFH. It's got to be a fun hour number 2. I want to get into MJ Melendez again here in this hour. I think the Kenny Chesney contest, Tommy, should be a lot of fun and something that people are way into. So keep it here. We're going to give you the details on how to win your opportunity to go up to Arrowhead for Kenny Chesney. You want to talk about a big-time giveaway. So hang tight on that. We will get into some of the other stories around the sports world. We will get into the NBA Finals tonight, maybe any bets we're looking at that way. But Kenny Chesney at Arrowhead, Tommy, that's a heck of a giveaway.
It really is. I'm going to go to that show. My wife and I are. I'm not a big.
I forgot about that.
Kenny Chesney guy, but Zach Brown Band is playing with Kenny Chesney, and I love the Zach Brown Band. I've seen them a couple of times when they've come through Wichita, and so I've actually never been to a concert at Arrowhead before. Been to Arrowhead for a lot of football games. Never been there for a show, so I'm excited for that. But it's July 6th, and so my wife and I are going to make a little weekend out of it, go up there, get a hotel room, hang out, watch the concert, come back to Wichita the next day. So it's going to be, I think, a pretty popular and packed concert for sure. And we're excited to have your chance to win.
Yeah, so that'll come here shortly. So stay tuned. We'll probably give you the details that I'll probably give those to you at the end of this segment. So stick with us. We're going to make you earn it. That opportunity to watch Kenny Chesney. Yeah, stick with us. But you can watch us on our video stream, by the way. You got to get out of your car, Facebook, YouTube, X. You can also listen to us at kfhradio.com. Lots of ways to get in touch with the program. Jad Chambers manning that IHOP hotline, which is brought to you by IHOP. By the way, speaking of IHOP, the 2x2x2 offer is in full swing. It's 2 eggs your way, 2 bacon strips, or pork sausage links, 2 buttermilk pancakes for $7. How about that, Tommy? It's one of their most popular things that they do. But you can give me 2 eggs, 2 pieces of bacon, 2 pancakes for $7. I mean, I'm all in on that. I love breakfast, and I would love that breakfast specifically. I need my eggs. I need my bacon. I need those pancakes. I need to scoop up all that egg yolk with whatever, throw it all together. Maybe you just mix it right up, turn it into a scramble, and let's go.
Oh man, I knew you were gonna, throw that in there. Yesterday, Father's Day breakfast, before I went off and played golf, my wife fired up the Blackstone. She made pancakes.
What?
She made sausage. She made
I had
eggs.
a bowl of cereal.
It was amazing. And the best part about it was I had a separate bowl for the eggs. And then I had my plate that had the pancakes on it. And you know what? I'm actually okay with sausage, like syrup getting onto the sausage. That's pretty good. So I was okay with that. But I had an entire separate bowl for my eggs. It was just the perfect breakfast
Why do you have eggs in a bowl?
because I don't want the syrup getting on the eggs. We've been
No, but in a
over this.
bowl.
We have talked
But
about
no, on a
this.
bowl. Why would you put eggs in a bowl? Are they scrambled?
Yeah, they were scrambled. They're scrambled with cheese.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that how you take eggs scrambled? That's your preference?
That's just how she did it. I mean, I'll eat them fried. I'll eat them over easy. I'll eat them hard boiled.
Okay. What is your
doesn't
egg
matter to me.
choice, though?
I mean, I like a good fried egg.
Yeah, dude.
Like a good
With
fried
runny
egg
yolk, I
with runny
assume?
yolk. And that's the
okay.
key right there. If that was what I had, I absolutely would have to have a separate plate because I don't want the egg yolk and the syrup from the pancakes to, coagulate and mingle together.
Yeah, it's fine. I know you can put them all together for me. So I had a bowl of cereal. I did though for Father's Day yesterday. I took the girls. My son hung back, but the girls went. And so growing up, like when I would go with my parents, so I'm young. I'm the youngest of 5, and there's pretty good space in between my brothers and I, like 4.5 years between my next oldest brother. So I had a pretty good stretch of being like the only kid in the house. But anytime I'd go with my parents, like we're not sitting in line and waiting on a table. We'd always just go sit at the bar and eat at the bar. Loved it. Like that. So I'm very like there's a nostalgia thing. So my wife does not like to do that. She likes to go to a table, which is fine. I get it. But the girls, like anytime I'm with my kids, any of them, girls, Braylon, any of them, I'm like, hey, you want to sit at the bar? And they think it's the coolest thing. So that's sort of what we did. We ate Mexican food, ate, a mountain of chips and salsa. Yeah, got them a sopapilla. We sat at the bar and it was great. So that's how we did that. And boy, you better believe I mixed all that Mexican food up together. I thought
I'm
of
sure
you
you did.
as I had a bite of enchilada and I tried to fit some rice on the fork and then scoop it into the beans and get all of it in one bite. I thought of you when I did that. I should have sent you a picture. All right, let's talk MJ Melendez, Tommy. So the game that the Royals were able to get against the Yankees were due in large part to a grand slam by MJ Melendez. All of a sudden, MJ Melendez has 3 home runs in his last 9 games. I think that I don't because none of his like metrics are rising in that time. Like he's just still doing kind of the same thing that he's been doing. It's not like he's becoming scorching hot and raising that 171 average, right? That's not what's happening. This is and Ryan Lefebvre was talking about this in the broadcast. I think it was him after that home run. And it's just like I don't recall a more clutch, awful season than what he's having. Boy, when he gets it, it counts, right? Like it's never meaningless for him, basically. It's the opposite of a stat patter. Everything he does, he's making it count. And it's so strange. And we've talked about him before. Like he's doing something for this team. He's just real, and it's been this way. It's curious. Like you can see that he's clearly one of the leaders on the team, and he clearly means something to his teammates, and all of that intangible stuff is there. But now you sort of like throw in this clutch factor that he has this year that has been so outrageous. And I don't know if it's like you're going to need to put him in the lineup every day. I don't think you can time that clutch, but you almost have to just kind of put him in the lineup every day. It's strange.
The thing I like about MJ Melendez a lot is that, yeah, it's the ceiling is really high and the floor is really low. So your point on that. But I don't think it was even what I take away from that grand slam wasn't even the grand slam. It was the at bat. And it was a 12 pitch at bat. And the circumstances surrounding it, the Royals are down, crucial part in the game. and Melendez works a 12 pitch at bat and then goes yard against Blake Trinan. And like that doesn't
Who had been
happen.
lights out this
That
year.
does not happen. In fact, I think that maybe there was one other grand slam in Major League Baseball history where the at bat was longer than 12 at bats, and that was 13 or pitches. And that was 13 pitches in that at bat. So the fact that he was able to stay in the at bat, be able to work the count the way that he did. By the way, there were 2 outs. The bases were loaded. And so it was a critical part of the game. And not even just, I'm watching it and I'm thinking to myself, okay, Melendez, I don't even need you to go yard here. Like, we just need a up the middle base hit. It's going to score a couple runs. The Royals will take the lead. And then, the inning continues for Kansas City. Instead, he goes yard and he gets absolutely all of it. And so I think that tells you a lot about what he can do when he is clicking on all cylinders. And I don't know what that disconnect is. I don't know why when he's bad, he's so bad, and why when he's good, he's amazing. But I think at the end of the day, and you teased this before we took our break, I think that he's got to be somebody that the Royals continue to put out there. And I know that you had to take the good with the bad with a guy like Melendez, but I think he's worth being on that roster long term. Now, is he worth a starting lineup position, a starting lineup spot? I don't know.
How else do you do it though? Like if you don't run him out there every day, you miss that. And so I almost think you just are going to have to, we're just going to swallow the fact that he may not get above 200 this year, but because you want him so badly in those spots. I don't know that it would be the same thing if you were just like pinch hitting him in those spots, which you could do. You could do it that way. I think you got to kind of roll with him. And that almost amplifies the rest of, and if you're going to roll with him, you can't also roll with, let's say, Kyle Isbell or another guy that's not hitting well, right? Like you almost can only, or Frazier, like you can only have one. You want it to be of all these dudes on the team, because there's several of them. You'd want it to be Melendez, right? Like if you're gonna be forced to put somebody who is vastly underperforming in totality in there every day, there's no question to me it's got to be Melendez. But that also amplifies the need to then go solve the other things. They need to get Massey back quickly. That we need to see if he can continue what he has done and get him in there. Because, Hampson's been serviceable, but Isbell's not giving you enough. Frazier's not giving you enough. You're going to just deal with you're going to deal with Melendez. I think they need that bat. But again, maybe not at the top priority. It'll be fascinating to see what they do with the lineup if they just hold tight, because it's not like they're not scoring runs. They're scoring runs. It's just, how do you prioritize all of it? And it's not anything all these teams don't have to do. Every team at the deadline's trying to do the same thing. It's good to get the juices flowing on the Royals. Melendez has had an interesting career. All the upside, everybody loved him when he was young. Then we kind of forgot about him. Then he got off to that awful start.
But wasn't he going to be kind of, at least for a while, the heir apparent to Salvi? He was going to be kind of that future catcher, for the Royals, and that really didn't pan out.
He went through a stretch between, oh my God, let me look at this. So he had a stretch, Tommy, between April 9th and May 30th, where he had one home run, basically for 2 months. And he's had 4 since May 30th. So he had one home run in 2 months. And now in the last, 15 or so games, he's had 4. Maybe he's coming out of it simply in the power category. And that's what he does, is he just has the pop, and he can just, because the clutch is there. Like, honestly, you'd want Bobby Witt Jr. up in a big spot. You'd want Salvi up in a big spot. Is MJ Melendez in a big, crucial one at bat situation, like number 3, who you'd feel comfortable with in those big spots the way he's been lately? Because he might be.
I don't know if I would use the word comfortable, because I think he's got just as much of a chance to flame out spectacularly in that at bat. But if he's going to do something good, it's going to be great. That clutch gene, is right there. But again, you have to take the good with the bad. So I think, yes, if you're going to power rank who you want up in a clutch moment, I'm okay with putting him higher up on that list. That's why I wonder if they are able to go out and maybe try to get another bat from the outfield in a trade, if Melendez is better served to be that pinch hitter role, like the guy that can come up in a clutch, think of him
Yeah.
like a closer, in a bullpen, or maybe not even a closer, but like a setup guy who has to come in and hold the game, with the bases loaded, and he's got to strike out the guy to in the inning to maintain the lead. I mean, I think you can kind of draw those comparisons to MJ Melendez just from an offensive point of view.
But he hasn't done that. And so I mean, maybe he can. I don't even know how you find that out. I guess you have to wait until you get through the trade deadline. I mean, as of now, you definitely want him out there. If they're able to do a bunch of things where maybe his spot is taken, maybe you could try it. But I do think of all the struggling players that we see, I think he has clearly become the one you would leave in there. Because they're not going to replace everybody, right? They probably will have one, and that's okay. You can put him in, but usually, that spot's usually reserved for like your best defender, and you're leaving them in there because they provide you all that stuff. And for Melendez, it's like, no, we kind of got to just leave him in there in case he gets a big RBI opportunity at some point in the game, because like so many things on this team, like these weird little identity things that happen in a Major League Baseball season, their ability to score runs late in the game, right? That's sort of a part of the Royals' identity this year. MJ Melendez is like, you know what? Doesn't matter what's happened for the last week. You put me in a big spot, and I'm going to get you the big hit. Imagine how much differently we'd be feeling had they not done that, right? And they get swept by the Dodgers. And now they're 3-7 in that stretch. And now they're 6 games behind Cleveland. I do think it would be a very different feel. Now, they were in all of those games. That was a great series against the Dodgers. But it could have felt different today. Like the Yankees series was getting away from them. The Dodgers series never was away from them. They were in every game. It was really fun series to watch, quite frankly. But MJ Melendez is a big part of it. And I think probably a big part of whatever it is the Royals do this year, and he may just do it batting $180, and it'll just be a part of what his season is. But if he keeps it up with these clutch hits, you'll take it 5 days out of 5. Like, you would love to have it. You can tell me that every third day MJ Melendez is going to get you that critical hit, and you've got him down at the bottom of the lineup. I think at this point I would take that. But it's just been a really curious, really, really curious situation for him. Brady Singer, Tommy, I thought handled himself very well yesterday. Honestly, I mean, if we're talking about Singer starts against that lineup, I know it's not like earth-shattering numbers or anything like that, but against that lineup, that's his best start in a month, really. Like it's been a while, and he navigated it well. And he had too much traffic, as he always does. 5 hits, 2 walks allowed in the 6 innings, but he got through it and he battled through it. And I thought that was good to see. His ERA actually rose, but I was really pleased with the game from him yesterday.
Yeah, and he's going to be that guy that I think as we get further into the season that the Royals will, I think they'll feel comfortable with him going out there and, being able to put you in a position to maybe win a game. And not that he's going to be this dominant. I don't think he's going to be a top of the rotation guy at any point during the rest of this season, barring some sort of crazy injury or a collapse from 1 or 2 other pitchers. But I think that as the 4th starter in this rotation, I think he's absolutely serviceable. He's going to absolutely put far too many people on the base paths. And that's ultimately his downfall. That's what it always has been. It wasn't a great outing from Singer, but it wasn't terrible either. Like, he kept them in a position to where, had the bats been able to do anything yesterday, they would have been in the game. Singer gives up 3 runs in 6 innings. Okay, it's not great, but it wasn't a massive blow up. He didn't get chased early. They didn't have to lean on the bullpen for multiple innings. And it left the offense in a position to where, outside of the 6th inning, a chance to get back into the game. Now, on the other hand, Dodgers pitching, led by Tyler Glasnow, was phenomenal. And so it's hard when you've got Glasnow on the hill opposite of you for your offense. And by the way, it was the final game of this, brutal 10-game stretch. The offense kind of, like they sort of limped in, to this day off today. I think that's to be expected a little bit. But yeah, overall with Singer, it was serviceable. It wasn't anything great. Hopefully moving forward, his next start and then on from there, he's able to build on that and continue having, okay to good outings.
Who are you more confident in right now? Brady Singer or Alec Marsh?
I think maybe Singer, and just because you kind of know what you're going to get from Singer, where Marsh, it's going to vary from start to start, and there's a wide range of outcomes for Alec Marsh. He could be chased in the second or third inning. He could go 7, and pitch really well. We've seen both from him. Singer, he's going to get runners on base. That he's not going to usually have a clean outing, but it's typically going to be okay. And if the bats are fine, then they'll be in that game, for the bullpen. Typically, I think is the way it goes. So yeah, I would say maybe Singer slightly above Marsh.
I don't know. Marsh is going to be fascinating to watch for a little while. When we look at Alec Marsh, like if you go back on what he's done this year, he's had, I don't know, 1, 2, a handful. It hasn't been many just like absolute throwaway starts. He is doing the things that we want 4th and 5th starters to do. He's generally giving them at minimum 5 innings. He's often giving them 6 or 7. His peripherals are pretty good, and he's capable of spinning a gem. I've come around a ton to him, and like I guess it's hard because I think there's a better chance Singer is consistent, but man, Marsh at any point could go out there and win you a game on his own. I think it's a really interesting comparison between those two, but I only ask it because you don't have to necessarily make the choice. Like if those two can stay at 4 and 5 in the rotation and just continue to do what they do, even if it's somewhat inconsistent, like I think it raises the floor for the Royals so dang much. They got to get Waka back. Altavia was nice for an inning, and that's been a disaster since. Like they really need Waka back, and I don't know what the latest on him is. I'll look that up. But if those two are at 4 and 5 and they stay healthy and they stay in it, it makes I do think it makes the floor of this team raise significantly. I think June 22nd is the day for him. He had Waka. I'm looking back here. It could be this weekend potentially, maybe that he comes. That's when he's eligible to come off the IL. So, I don't know how, but even without that, it's those two at the back end, I think, that makes this team dangerous to get into the postseason. Like if you're thinking about bets, whatever, because if they're healthy, it's just a nice 4 and 5. It's as good a 4 and 5 as teams in baseball have.
I think as long as we know what they are and what they're not, if they are going to be 4 and 5 in the rotation, okay, cool. And what do we typically expect from our 4th and 5th starters? To go out there and be okay starters, be the guys that can give the top of the rotation a little bit of breathing room where they don't feel like they've got to go out and pitch a gym every single time. If they can, hold things together, and usually every time through the rotation, I think as long as one of them is pitching an okay game, the other one, I think, is allowed to maybe not be quite as good, right? And then you're saying, maybe. All right, 4 out of every 5, starts should be wins or at least competitive games. Then I think you feel okay about it. I think as soon as, and I'm not suggesting this will happen down the stretch, but as soon as both of them start to fall off a little bit, then at that point you have some more concerns. Or somebody else from the top of the rotation starts to struggle, or you've got an injury like Michael Waka they're currently dealing with right now. Then at that point, more pressure gets on their shoulders. Go back to Alec Marsh, for example. wasn't that long ago, just a few days ago, that there was a significant amount of pressure on Marsh's shoulders. It was that finale against the Yankees where they had to have him pitch a great game to avoid a sweep, and he did it. So as long as we know what they are and what they're not and what their expectations are in that rotation, I'm good with both of them being number 4 and number 5.
Yeah, but don't you think, like, there are a lot of things that can make teams volatile and crazy and hard to predict. Those two at the back end give the Royals a higher floor, I think, than a lot of the teams they're going to compete against for a wild card spot. It gets a real advantage. Again, to your point, if they stay at 4-5, if you have a couple significant injuries and they got to come up to like 2-3, now you might be in a little bit of trouble. But
then you're changing the expectations on what you want from them.
To be quite honest, though, like, if we're being fair, like, there are a lot of teams that don't even have pitchers their quality in the middle of their rotation. So to have them at the back end, that's what I mean. Like, when you have them at the back end, Lugo is coming back down to earth a little bit. Reagan's has been way too Jekyll and Hyde for my taste, but it is what it is. It prevents long stretches of bad baseball if those guys are able to do that. And that feels like it's the Royals' greatest advantage, is just right now that depth. And it got tested real quick because now without Waka, they've had a real problem. And you don't want that either. They've got to figure that out. Hopefully Waka just comes back and is healthy and is fine. 869-1240. All right. We've been teasing it here. Let's do it. Let's set it up for the Kenny Chesney giveaway. Your chance to win a pair of tickets live at Arrowhead in Kansas City. Right now, get the short code ready, 20357. Text the word Kenny, Kenny, to the number 20357. You can enter once per day. Message and data rates apply. Winners will be chosen randomly on June 21st at 6:01 p.m. It's the Zach Brown Band, by the way, opening for Kenny Chesney. It's July 6th in Kansas City. Text the word Kenny to the number 20357. Again, message and data rates apply. Good luck, everybody. Your opportunity to win a big one here on Sports Daily. We're coming right back.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy. have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free.
On your way into work, want to keep listening to Sports Daily even after you park the car with the Odyssey app and Odyssey.com. You can just download the app, visit Odyssey.com, and search for KFH. Download it today to get started. Again, no Royals today as you look ahead on that. So all the local programming, all the Infinity Sports Network programming there for you on the Odyssey app. Welcome back into Sports Daily. Strange story with the Chiefs. Tommy, Isaiah Buggs, again, not a needle mover. I don't know. I think most of us probably didn't know who he was before these legal situations popped up for him. He's the player that was involved in the malnourished animal situation that they denied. And you know, his people said he was being targeted. Well, now he has been arrested. Again, I believe he's been arrested. He's in jail for what's called suspicion of a second-degree domestic violence and second-degree assault. I don't know what's going on here. Again, I didn't know who Isaiah Buggs was before any of this legal stuff. If he's, I don't know where he is on the depth chart, but I can't imagine the Chiefs are going to, you know, deal with this much longer. It's just sort of strange, like that this keeps happening, and it's odd. It's a weird one.
Can you just get rid of him? Like, can
I don't
you
know.
just move on from him?
Well, I don't know, because, you know, the last time they denied it and everybody deserves their day in court and all those things. I don't think you can just because of, you know, something like that. Now that there's been two things, I think they probably have the ability to get information pretty quickly. And if the information indicates any of this stuff actually happened, then I think, yeah, he'll be gone pretty quick, right? If it's domestic violence and all that, they would probably wash their hands of it, I would think. And we know in the NFL, you know, the leash you're given is largely tied to how big a contributor you are to that team. Love it, hate it, whatever it is, the reality of the situation. Rashee Rice is going to have a longer leash, legally speaking, than Isaiah Buggs is probably.
Yeah, I would think so. I would hope so. At least.
Well, I don't even know that I'd hope so. It's just a reality of how the NFL works. We know this. Now, domestic violence is a little different. So we just have to see. I can't imagine, though, that if any of this is true, he'll be on the roster much longer. It is an interesting. It's not easy to go find defensive tackles, though, Tommy. If they do indeed have to move on from him, however the legal situation works out. Chris Jones isn't getting any younger. That's a position that a lot of teams need. So I don't think there's like a lot of depth out there. It's not like running backs. You're not just going to go find one. So it is something to watch, outside of the legal aspect of it, just from a roster construction football side. It'll be interesting to see, because if he's gone and he really was expected to do something this year, that's a hole on the roster. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah, but again, like, it's not been a player that we've really, or anybody has really paid a whole lot of attention to. And so, and until you have these two situations come up within about a month of each other this offseason, and it's been a major point this offseason that all of the off the field drama, all the different things that have happened, you can't have that, and you especially can't have it from somebody that is not a needle mover, not a difference maker with this organization. So I understand the whole innocent until proven guilty and your day in court and blah, 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 and all of that. If he's not a needle mover, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame
Right.
on me. Like,
that's the problem for him.
cut the ties and move on and go find somebody else.
I mean, I'm looking at the depth chart right now, the projected depth chart that ESPN has out there. He would at best be like a fourth, fifth stringer. So yeah, it's not like people expect a ton out of him, which explains why we haven't really heard of him. They still have Wharton, they still have Pennell to sort of be the backup there behind Chris Jones and Noddy and whatever. So we'll see. I bet he's not on the roster too much longer. So that happened. If you missed that over the weekend, in a busy weekend, NFL news and notes. I mean, are we going to hear where Aaron Rodgers has been? We talked about the Trevor Lawrence contract on Friday a little bit. That was been sort of the big headline. Aaron Rodgers still floats out there for me, though. Do we know? Did we find out? Did I miss it because we've been distracted? Where Aaron Rodgers was not at minicamp? Like, what was the alternative that was important to him?
I mean, I
deliberately
try to not pay attention, to what Aaron Rodgers is up to on a daily basis. So I don't know. I mean, I know that just within the last little while, there was a report that this was from ESPN, that basically the Jets are in win now mode, which they should be because they've got Rodgers and he's not getting any younger. And so they're willing to, I guess, roll with who Aaron Rodgers is. That's a report from Rich Samini from ESPN, basically just saying that they know he's going to make headlines because he is who he is, and the Jets are just going to roll with it because he is the key to everything. And that was a report just within the last several minutes.
Yeah. Okay. So he will be, you said it's Samini on the report?
Rich Samini.
Okay. What do you think? I know we touched on it very, very, very briefly. What is the best case scenario for the Jets this year? Right? Like what could it be? I don't even know.
Yeah, I think the best case scenario is that they end up reaching the potential and meeting the expectations. I think those expectations should be fairly high because of, if he can stay healthy. I think they should be considered a playoff contender, right? I think that's probably the best case scenario, but I think that is unlikely. Probably, I would think. I mean, look, like this team, the biggest issue that I think they're going to run into is the entire team was built for Aaron Rodgers last year, right? Like that was the way that they built that team, was for him. He played 4 snaps, went down for the entire season. You've got an opportunity now, Aaron Rodgers does, to come back and reunite this team around him, and he hasn't been there. He hasn't taken that opportunity.
That's my problem.
That's a problem,
because on paper, they do seem like they could absolutely be a factor in the AFC. They have solved a lot of the offensive line issues. We know how good their defense has been. Breece Hall with Aaron Rodgers, Breece the Beast. And honestly, he's the reason I have so much interest in the Jets, is because we're following his career so closely. He has a chance to be incredible this year if Rodgers is out there. If Rodgers is remotely anywhere near what he was, not just at the end of Green Bay that last year where he took a little bit of a step back, certainly the years before when he was an MVP candidate, if they can just get anything at that position, that still feels like a team that could absolutely make noise. It's just, is Aaron Rodgers, like, is he capable of investing all of that again? I don't think we know that.
I
Not
don't
only is he
think.
physically able to do it,
Yeah.
obviously that's it. That's the biggest question. But even mentally, like, how on earth, when you're coming back from that, can you just tell your teammates that's not that important right now to me?
Yeah, I think that we know all we need to know about Aaron Rodgers already. This is not a surprise. It's nothing new. Rodgers likes to pretend to be the smartest one in the building. He likes to be,
Yes, he
the
does.
guy that knows more than everybody else, and he is going to always be opinionated. He's always going to be, attention grabbing. It's all about the focus on him. What makes this entire thing so ironic, and him missing the mandatory minicamp, is that all the way back in January, as he was still rehabbing from his Achilles injury, he did a press conference with the Jets, kind of like the end of season press conference. I'm going to read you his quote. It's what makes this entire thing so ironic today. Back in January, he said, and I quote, "Anything that doesn't have anything to do with winning needs to be assessed. So anything in this building that we're doing individually or collectively that has nothing to do with real winning needs to be assessed. It's not a half the time thing. It's not a sometimes thing. It's not a most of the time thing. It's an every time thing. If you want to be a winning organization and to put yourself in position to win championships and be competitive, everything that you do matters, and the BS that has nothing to do with winning needs to get out of the building. So that'll be the focus moving forward." That's what he said in January. Those were his
I
his
know.
words in
I
January.
know.
He's not there for mandatory minicamp. But here's the
And
thing about it. I'm not surprised by that.
it's mandatory minicamp. This isn't the optional OTA thing. That's one thing. Fine. If you think the work that you can do away is okay, fine. This is mandatory minicamp. You're telling the rest of the roster that it's mandatory for you guys. It ain't mandatory for me. Like, I don't need to be here. Like, you can't start that way. Like, you can't, had he been healthy last year and had this great season, and then he's like, you know what, I'm not going to be there. Okay, fine. But you haven't done that yet. You're still trying to convince your teammates that you can lead them to the promised land. And then the first thing you do at an opportunity at a mandatory camp that the Jets are telling you, hey, everybody, we need to be here. It's mandatory minicamp. Nah, you know what? I don't need to be there. We'll get together at training camp. But that's such a bad, and it's why I said, like, I'm out on them, because it's such a bad start. But then as I say I'm out on them, I'm like, yeah, but they got Breece Hall. And they fixed that offensive line a little bit. And I think Garrett Wilson is a superstar, and that defense is pretty good. And they've got depth on the line. Like, all these other things creep back. And I'm like, well, maybe they can be good. Can they be good despite him? That would be the other question. Are they so mentally there? And I don't know. I have no idea the end. I'm not like trying to make a joke here. Can they do what they need to do without him being the leader and example setter? Can he just be a hired gun that's talented enough to help them in everything else? I guess that's the question, because if he can, then they're fine.
Yeah, I think they've got to stop, and we've got to stop expecting Aaron Rodgers to be this selfless leader, to be the guy that's going to unite the
Right.
team, because that's not him. Maybe it was at one point in his career when he was quite a bit younger, but I don't know. I don't know if it ever really.
Green Bay.
It wasn't at the
It
end
wasn't
of Green
at
Bay,
the end.
but I'm talking about when he was younger. Maybe it was, or maybe he's just been this way his entire career. I don't know.
Or maybe he's old and he doesn't want to put up with all of it anymore. Which is, again, I
Sure.
mean, it is what it is. This isn't an indictment on Aaron Rodgers.
But then when he says those things in January, I think, he says those things, and then you have to be like, okay, shut up, man. Like, you don't believe any of that crap. Like, or maybe you want to believe it about yourself, but it's not accurate. You're not a leader of men. You're a talented quarterback. You're a Super Bowl champion, but you're not a leader of men, even though you think you are.
If he doesn't, but if he's not, like, if everybody's like, you know what, I don't care what he does, he's more talented than, Zach Wilson. Can you operate that way in the NFL with your quarterback?
I think it depends. I think it depends upon who you've got around him, who those teammates are. If they know,
have a ton of talent,
right? But if they know, hey, we're not going to get a whole lot of inspiration out of Aaron Rodgers, and just know that he's out there for himself, and he's out there to make himself look good, if you can operate, like I've worked in places before where I know that my boss is kind of out for themselves. It doesn't mean that I'm going to do a bad job, and it doesn't mean that we're not going to be successful. I just know, like, I'm not going to go to them to be like this inspirational leader. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or like, hey, I got this problem in life. Can you help me? That
Right.
Maybe they can. I mean, maybe they can. It seemed so dysfunctional because they've had, not the success they should, but maybe it is there. I mean, at one point, we certainly would have thought of Robert Saleh that way. Maybe he can, let's say Mike Tomlin's the head coach of this team. He'd be like, you know what? Who cares? Like, Mike Tomlin's the leader of this team. Who is the leader of the Jets? Maybe it's Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall and Sauce Gardner and all these talented young players. They will be, again, the story to watch early in the NFL. I think they'll be the most fascinating team to see if he can come out and do it. He's old, man. We haven't seen him play in a long time. All right, we'll come back. More Sports Daily. Don't forget that chance to win Kenny Chesney. Zach Brown Band at Arrowhead tickets is out there for you. You'll want to get in right now. Text the keyword Kenny to 20357. 1 entry per day. Message and data rates apply. Good luck, everybody. We'll be back with more Sports Daily right after this.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy. We have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free.
right, welcome back in, everybody. We mentioned ESPN Bet earlier. The NBA Finals, Tommy, tonight, the other big event happening. It's 3-1 Boston right now. It sure doesn't feel like there's any world where Dallas could be the history-making team here and, like, do the unimaginable down 3-0. But can they extend the series? Can they go to Boston and win a game? They're 6.5-point dogs. Game 4 was a joke. It's almost like Boston was just like, you know what? Let's come back home so we can win it. I honestly don't really know how to approach this from a betting angle. I guess I would lean Boston here. Can Dallas stretch this out and get it to 6 games, which is where I think a lot of us thought this series might get? I mean, I don't even know how to approach that. What do you think?
I don't particularly care. I mean, honestly, like that's been because
if this series gets to 3-2, would you care about this series
if it gets to 3-2? Sure. Like at that point, if I'm the Celtics, because I wholeheartedly agree with you the way Game 4 went down. I'm like they didn't even show up. Like, what are you doing, guys? Like, I get that you'd love to win this in Boston and celebrate with your fans, but like take care of business, and like you're more talented than they are. Just win, get it over with, sweep them, and let's move on. And now the series reverts back to Boston. And I don't know. I think that, yeah, if it gets to 3-2, then I'm going to really have to take a good hard look at the Celtics. Like, why'd you guys let it get to this point?
I'm kind of back in. Real quick, IHOP hotline 869-1240. Let's get Anthony in. Once a quick word. Anthony, welcome into Sports Daily. What's on your mind?
Oh, man. So you guys are talking Boston, Dallas. You had a good show on, and I just hate I couldn't get on at the time because I was doing other things. But first, I want to touch upon the controversial foul call, Angel Reese. I mean, we've seen that play for years.
She smashed her.
Okay, here's how I'll say it. We've seen similar plays like that NBA, college basketball, and it wasn't called flagrant.
Oh, it's a rule in the WNBA. If they make contact above the shoulders, they have to call it a flagrant. I don't think there's any.
In this case, I think it's more or less the WNBA is trying to get all the attention that they can get. And once again, who are we talking about? Caitlin Clark and who else? Angel Reese.
Yeah, it's the best.
That's the whole storyline in a nutshell. But what the league should be doing and how they should market this is as Bird Magic on the female version, because even Magic mentioned, he said that's how they should spin this, but they're not doing it that way. But back to this Boston and Dallas thing, the way Boston played against Dallas, I mean, their body language was off, their game was off. If you're a Dallas fan, that's fool's gold. Don't buy into that. This series will be over after tonight. So as far as betting line, money line is probably going to be on Boston.
Yeah, the money line is 6.5 points. Anthony, we're up against a hard break here. We always appreciate your call. Call a little earlier in the show tomorrow. We can discuss it more. I'm with you. I think it's fool's gold too. I have a hard time like putting money on Dallas. I mean, probably you could go with Luka just to try. But I'm with you, Tommy, in the sense that if it's not fool's gold and it wasn't, and they can get this thing to 3-2. I'm back in the series. Tonight's more of like I'm going to kind of just be checking the score. And if we're in business here and by halftime it's competitive, then okay, I'll be back in. Boy, if they win this tonight though, I'm back in. I'm back in the series.
They're not going to, but I get it. I get what you're saying. They're not going to win.
I'm with both of you. I think game 4 was fool's gold. Don't get me wrong. I don't think they're going to. But I mean, I could be wrong about that. I mean, come on. It's the NBA. It's very unpredictable.
It's going to have to take monumental efforts from Luka and from Kyrie, and they're going to have at least one or two other people show up. And that hasn't been the case really at all in this finals. That's the only way that I see them even keeping this competitive tonight.
Yeah, I definitely could see a Boston. If I had to bet, I would bet Boston and lay the 6.5. Like if I had to make a bet, that's the way I would go. I don't know if I'll do that. I'll probably go attack a player prop or something. But there it is. That game is tonight. We'll come back. We'll tell you what's on the network here tonight when Sports Daily returns.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy. We have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free.
All right, good luck, everybody. One more time on that giveaway, the Kenny Chesney giveaway. Just text the word Kenny, Kenny, to the number 20357. 1 entry per day, message and data rates apply. Good luck on that, everybody. We'll have more chances throughout the week. You've got Rome following us, Bob and Jeff locally 2 to 4, and then Infinity Sports Network programming to take you home tonight. Tommy, we made it.
Yeah, get some rest. We'll see you back here tomorrow.
All right, for Jad, for Tommy, I'm Jacob. See you then.